YouTube, it is time, my friends. The video you and I have been waiting for. The video you've been waiting to watch, and the video that I've been waiting to make. Now, I normally don't do these too often, okay? If you guys are new, or if you guys are familiar with the streams and how I run my channel, we kind of talk about, you know, medium to longer term outlooks, but I don't really make an official statement on what I think is going to happen. We're going to change that in today's video, because the more I see this play out and the more I see kind of price develop, the ideas and the gear start churning, and I basically start to kind of speculate and put myself in the different mindset of thinking, what is the path of most pain, the path of most resistance, the path that is going to hurt people the most and allow money to exchange hands. You know, usually how it goes, it's retail versus whales, and you know, retail usually never comes out on top. So I want to give you guys a different perspective. I want to give you guys kind of a official video. Now, when I say official, this is the only time I'm going to be serious about this. All right. I will talk about this probably in future streams, but I am not going to be sitting here riding on this prediction, being ultra bearish or ultra bullish. This is kind of just an idea to throw out there. And hopefully 6 months to a year from now, maybe even longer, we can look back and say, hey, was I right? Was I wrong? In this case, I don't necessarily want to be right, but the way I kind of been thinking about how this might be playing out, there's a good chance. But hey, you never know. Let's go ahead and talk about it. So this is primarily going to be a overall market idea, not necessarily talking about Bitcoin. We can talk about Bitcoin and what I think is going to happen. Something that I've been talking about over the course of a longer period of time. And I guess we could do Bitcoin first while we're here. So first things first, we're looking at this on a daily chart, right? I personally have been holding this kind of idea for the longest time, and it's something that I think can still play out, but I'm not necessarily leaning on this 100% or 200%, or it's something that I'm dead set on at the moment. Things can change, but this is one of the ideas I've had for a while, and that idea is kind of slowly diminishing. The idea that I have is that if you guys don't know how I trade, the strategy that I use, please check out the channel. I made tons of videos, and all my streams over the last, I guess, 8 to 10 months have been talking about this strategy and what I do. And if you guys aren't familiar, go check it out, but it's called the ABC strategy. I could sit here and make a whole nother separate video talking about just that, but we're going to save that for another point. But yeah, what I'm looking for, I primarily from an idealistic standpoint, is I want to see the initial downtrend, which we did get. Now we are in the pullback phase. At the, I guess, the last leg of this is that I want to see an extension down to break the lowest or the previous low. Now, the higher we climb in price, the less likely I think this is going to happen, which I'll give you guys a variation of what I think might be going on as well. But in an ideal scenario, an ideal world, this is my, I guess, the best setup I can look for. The setup that's going to lead me to be the most bullish. Now, what I mean by that is, if price does retrace back all the way back down to 15K, I need to see a lower low be put in beyond the previous low that we had back in November of 2022. Wow, I still remember this day like it was not too long ago. That's pretty crazy. It's been over a year already. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So what I am looking for is just a slightly lower low. Now, price can extend further to 13, 12, 10, 9. I'm not too concerned about that. I'm more worried about the formation and actually the structure that price decides to develop, or how it decides to develop. But if we get the lower low and eventually come back up, reclaim that pivot, maybe consolidate, but eventually that, if we can get a nice bounce anywhere in this region below, if we can reclaim that level, that's going to be a major bullish point for me. So that is kind of the the medium to longer term ideal scenario. All right. What I think is going to happen with BTC from a more realistic standpoint is, if we do not get a lower low, I am personally on the side that maybe we have bottomed here. right? Maybe this is the bottom. And we're working our way up on the initial run to the upside, but we are going to be due for a larger retracement. Now, I don't know exactly where that retracement is going to end. You know, there's a couple areas of support we can talk about, anywhere from like 25K back down to 19. Let's just say 19.5 just to be safe. But we get an initial push to the upside, a retracement back down to 19K, or, you know, we can go to 24.7, 25K. I'm okay with that as well. But something like that, and then we get an extension, and eventually takes it. This B leg or this retracement is probably going to take its sweet time to develop, which can give time for the markets to kind of establish itself a little bit better. And if this does happen instead of the ultra bearish route, that's going to be a more, I guess, how do I say this? A more solid point of reversal, or a more solid point or area of support to develop before we can continue the upside. Just like what happened back in the COVID dump. The structure of what is going on now and what could possibly going on might be pretty similar. Let me just briefly explain. So back in the previous bear market, we took its time, kind of, you know, developed this triangle, eventually made a nice dip to the downside, formed an area of support, came back up, retested areas of resistance, and eventually made its way back down to retest previous areas of support without necessarily making a new low, right? And then from there, we went on to establish a new bull market. I think something can be something like this could happen again, but we'll have to just wait and see. But that is kind of the backup idea I have in case we do not actually put any lower low. I still think, guys, I'm way too, how do I say this? I'm withholding the idea of being too bullish just because it's too early in the cycle. If you guys don't know this, Bitcoin has tendencies to behave a certain way based on halvenings, and it tends to move in cycles. All right, usually 6 to 8 months after the halvening, which is about, I think the halvening is in April, May of 2024. After that happens, then that's when the actual bull run can actually start to develop and form and, you know, continue the upside. Until then, I'm just a little bit too, how do I say this? I just can't sit here and just be too bullish, right? That's just the truth. That's just how I feel. Now, just because I feel a certain way doesn't mean that it can't happen. If we do continue the upside and we do actually put in a new high, that's a whole nother conversation we can talk about. But I'd be even more concerned if we went ahead and proceeded to break a new all-time high, before that peak bull cycle area or time frame is supposed to happen. Like I said, 6 to 8 months post halvening. So we'll talk about that later if that does happen, but we're going to focus on what I think is going on as a main idea. So that's pretty much, I guess, the main point for BTC. Like I said, just to kind of refresh, I'm looking for a retracement, or this retracement to the upside to end. Best case scenario for what I like to see, I want to see a continuation back below 15K. I know some of you guys may think, well, we're never going to go back down there. Never say never, guys. I've seen a lot of things happen over the course of being in the markets for years now, and I tend to observe behaviors. You know, a lot of people were very bullish up here and thought we were going to keep going, just exactly like what's going on now, and, you know, ended up dumping. How much is this? 70%. If you don't think that can't happen again, then I don't know what to say. Trading and investing is not for you. But patterns like this can absolutely, not saying repeat, but they can definitely rhyme. So that's not the main point of this video. The main point of this video is coming up here in a moment, but I just wanted to give you guys a quick little outlook on what I think BTC is going to happen, in case you guys don't know my official opinion of what I think BTC is going to go through. Now, for the bread and butter of this video. All right. I originally recorded this video like a week or two ago, and we were kind of down in, we were kind of testing this area around here on the S&P. But as we continue to push the upside, we're starting to get closer to a very, very crucial point in the S&P. Now, the pattern that I trade, the ABC pattern, right? The best way to explain it on why it works is because it takes advantage of people's emotions. It takes advantage of people being too optimistic, or too, how do I say this, too scared, too excited. It takes advantage of people's emotions. And when people dip into their emotions too much, they tend to react in ways that they probably normally wouldn't have. Especially if you've been doing this for a while, or even if you're new. When you tend to see price go up, especially when it breaks new all-time highs, you're probably going to be a little bit more excited to see price continue to the upside. Vice versa when it comes to dips. When you see price break below a previous support, you're going to be a little bit more scared. You're going to be a little bit more worried that price will continue to the downside. Remember, trading is a give and take game. In order for big players to make their moves or to take their positions, they need liquidity. The way they create this liquidity or areas of liquidity is to take advantage of your emotions. The way they do that is they focus on pivots that beginner traders or retail traders understand that could be a possible bullish or bearish point, and they basically play it against you. For example, if I go back down to, I can just show you a good example here. All right, we established this support here. Price had a nice bounce. People were getting a little bit, I don't know, but to me, when you see from a beginner's mindset, let's say you're not looking at things from the way I look at things, when you initially get that bounce, it looks really good, but then price just goes ahead and just continues that downtrend. And as price are coming back down to these regions, I'm sure people were getting scared. Like I said, I don't normally trade the S&P. I don't pay attention to traditional markets too much. I'm focused on my crypto and, my trading strategy when it comes to that. But in my opinion, based on what I know, I can tell, I'm sure people were a little bit worried when we got to this region, especially that we came back down and extended past it. But as you can see, that was a perfect opportunity to buy and take advantage of this pump. Now, the same can be applied to the opposite direction. What I mean by that is we have this area of resistance up here, right? As we are approaching this area of resistance, all right, I'm going to specifically talk about the high here. As we continue to approach this resistance, and if we do continue to breach back above and continue to sustain above, that is going to get people more excited. There's been, at the moment, at the time of making this video, there's been I don't remember the exact percentage, but interest rates are being rolled back. It's not as aggressive. Things might be looking good now, but just remember that events like that, news like that is meant to get you excited. News and events like this is meant to get you to buy or sell, depending on, in this case, we're looking to buy. They want you to put money back into the market. And going back to the main principle I said before, big money needs you to buy and sell in large quantities in order to get their positions filled against you. So while if people are getting excited, trying to FOMO up at previous highs, big money understands this and will do their best to try to reverse it on you. And so it doesn't have to be a ever so slight wick. It can go a little bit past above, but just be aware. If we continue to spike back above the previous high that we put in back in January of 2022, and if we do not sustain a healthy, consistent uptrend, if we just come up, dance a little bit, and then sustain and continue to fall back below, in my personal opinion, first, before I give you guys what I think could happen, keep in mind, when is the last time something like this happened? If you guys don't know the answer, I can tell you that right now. Pretty fast, actually. Look familiar? Well, in case you guys don't know, the last time something like this happened on a larger scale, let's just see. Back in 2008. Do you guys know what happened in 2008? Some of you guys were little kids. I know I was a little kid because I had no idea what the hell was going on. But if you were a functioning adult around that time period, 2008, things did not go good, or things definitely took a turn for the worse for a while. And we entered a very, very nice recession or nice pullback in the S&P. And all we needed to do is put in a slightly higher high. You can see we don't have to sustain above and keep pushing up. Even back up here in the retest, we came back up, dancing around it, and eventually the market decided it wanted to keep going. But going back to what I said before, this is a familiar pattern that happens over and over and over again. The idea that this can't happen again Maybe not to the same extent, which I'll talk about here in a moment, but the fact that if you guys are not willing to accept that this can happen again, I don't know, guys. I don't know what to tell you. Like I said, trading might not be for you. Expect the unexpected. Like I said before, the market likes to take the path of most pain. So understand that people's emotions are going to get probably pretty excited. FOMO might kick in up in this region, especially once we start breaking past the all-time high. But if we don't sustain a nice continuation to the upside and we just put in some sort of small top and continue back down, let's talk about where we can end up. Now, the market likes to go ahead and respect resistance and support levels, especially now that the market has taken its time to establish good support levels. I want to talk about areas that the market will most likely go ahead and test if this bearish idea is going to play out. All right, the first big area of support I want to look at is somewhere around here, anywhere from like the 365 all the way down to like the 345, 340 region. This is going to be a good area for price to go ahead and retest. Now, am I saying that we're going to stop there? No, but that is the next logical step if price is going to reverse. Now, if we break past below this area of support, we have to go back and see where price can go ahead and look to, or at least go back in price and see where price can test next. So if we go back in the charts and go back in history, around the time of this pullback here, September 20th, we have a nice little pocket of support around 319, 320. My personal opinion, this is not a significant area of support to count on as an area for price to bounce off of. What's catching my eye even more is the previous low that was set back during the COVID dump. All right, this area around, what is that, like 218, 220? So what I think is probably going to happen, and if we do end up in a situation to where we create or we put in a much larger potential reversal in the market, if we sustain this bearish pattern, is that if we do not hold around $350, the S&P, in my opinion, will probably, without much resistance, make its way back towards that 220 region back that was put in back on the COVID dump, or at least that previous support that was put in by the COVID dump. So let's mark it in the books for now. Let's see what happens. Like I said, I could be completely wrong, but just keep this in mind. If you guys aren't willing to accept both sides of the coin, especially when it comes to trading, this is not meant for you. All right. Just as much as I am bearish, I could be completely wrong. If price does continue to extend to the upside without putting in much of a slowdown, then I'll be a little bit less bearish. But at the moment, I've seen this happen time and time again on different assets. But the fact that the S&P is putting in one like this, and we haven't put in one since the actual last recession in 2008, it's a little bit worrisome for me, especially if you've been keeping up with what's going on in the world. I'm not saying anything crazy is going to happen. I don't know, but all it takes is one good reason to pull the market back 20-30% in a short given period of time, even further. Nothing surprises me at this point. So for the books, this is going to be an official, I guess, prediction by me. I don't normally do this, but this is going to be fun. So let's see what happens. Just a quick little recap. The S&P puts in a higher high and does not continue to sustain that uptrend. If we get a reversal set up, we're probably more than likely going to test at least 340. If not, come back all the way back down to 220 to kind of solidify that COVID low. And to be honest, if this COVID low never happened, the next stop would have been 180. So I think putting in that COVID low definitely could potentially save the S&P in the future. We'll have to just wait and see. So that's pretty much it, guys. Nothing too official, but official. Like I said, I don't make these statements. I'm very curious to see what happens. You guys have an idea of what I'm looking for on BTC, and I've talked about this on streams, and I will continue to talk about this on streams. So if you guys want to have a conversation about this, tune in to the streams when I can be. Hopefully You know, if you guys haven't seen the most recent streams, I haven't been that consistent recently, but going into the new year, I'll definitely be going ahead and trying my best to be a little bit more consistent. So let's see what happens. First of all, before I head out, I want to say, hope you guys had a good holiday, whether you guys celebrate Christmas or whatever you guys celebrate. I know the end of the year is wrapping up, so the day after Christmas, hope you guys had a great Christmas. If not, hopefully next year's is better. Maybe you might be a little bit richer next year. Who knows? Who knows? All right. All jokes aside, I'm just rambling on at this point. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I do appreciate it. Hope to catch you guys on the live streams. Until then, be good, be safe, prepare, expect the unexpected. Do your best to stay neutral and be objective. All right. All right, guys. Until next time. Bye-bye.
This is terribly important to understand Buddhism. Because the better you get, the more you go up to the Deva world. The worse you get, the more you go down to the Naraka world. But everything that goes up has to come down. So you can't improve yourself indefinitely. If you improve yourself beyond a certain limit, you simply start to get worse. Like when you make a knife too sharp, it begins to wear away. So the Buddhahood, or liberation, enlightenment, is on no place on the wheel, unless it might be the center. By ascending, by becoming better, you tie yourself to the wheel by gold chains. By retrogressing and becoming worse, you tie yourself to the wheel with iron chains. But the Buddha is one who gets rid of the chains altogether.